Sal, por favor. Sal, por favor, sal. Salí que tenés que no te cárcel, perro. Juanita, por favor. Casa. ¿Me va a reventar? Entra para atrás. Esto no es más gente española. Gente española.
This is not going to begin and end with the administration going after the IP address of one person, right? This is just the latest in a series of tactics. I think you said when one door closes, they try to find another one. This is just the next door they're trying to find. If 2020 was the election that was dominated by Donald Trump trying to undermine vote by mail, and 2022 was the election that was dominated by Republican voter suppression laws that had been enacted in 2021 and 2022, and if the 2024 election was dominated by Donald Trump preparing to mess with certification and empower election deniers, the 2026 election is all about data, right? You mentioned that they are now 0-19 in efforts to try to get access to the most sensitive voter data that states have. I'm proud that my law firm remains undefeated, and tonight added Illinois to that list. But we've also had them, Donald Trump, issue executive orders to try to get the Postal Service to leverage the delivery of vote-by-mail ballots in order to get data. That is running into its obstacles in the court. The Supreme Court is now have an emergency petition on its desk from the Department of Justice there. So this IP address is just the latest effort to try to leverage big data and probably AI to target voters who Donald Trump wants to harass or doesn't want to be able to vote.
Cause their defeat too, and probably hear from them too. Yeah.
Mr. President, that's on. There's a report that you got a proposal from the military to go big and hit them harder within 14 days.
Well, we're going big.
Are you going to consider?
We've already gone big. Look, I mean, what's big? They had 159 ships. That was their entire Navy, 159. Their entire Navy is laying at the bottom of the sea. I'd say that's going big. They had 200 airplanes. They're all gone. Every one of them. They're on one airplane. They had anti-aircraft weaponry. Very good, but it didn't work. And it's all gone. Their radar is all gone. Their leaders are all gone. Everything's all gone. But they'll fight onward.
You think we have immigration problems? Did you see what happened in Spain yesterday? 60,000 people in one day bum rushed the border and got through. This is and this poor Spain. At the same time, they're having horrible fires. Spain is the new California. No, it is. The northern part is on fire. The southern part gets overrun by migrants, and everybody speaks Spanish. It's the new California.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish, in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Saturday, 1 August, year of our Lord 2026. Let's see, August, 31 days, September, 36. Okay, October. We're like, 90 days away, close to this midterm. And now, oh my gosh, all the political apparatus over there is now going to focus on it. Well, here's how we got to focus on it, folks. We got to get back to core MAGA policies. How about this? How about a random thought? How about a thought experiment today on Saturday? Thought experiment. Maybe we get back to the policies that won the 16, 20, and 24 election. Yes, he had 3 in a row. Let's get back to those policies. Mass deportations, trying to rein in spending so we don't have to finance $8 trillion this year. No foreign wars. Unleash Bobby Kennedy. Seal the border, but make sure it's sealed permanently. And then let's do mass deportations of all the illegal aliens. Not the worst of the worst. All of them are the worst of the worst. And even though there's some good people there, it doesn't matter. If you're here and you're not a citizen, you have to go home. Now, the folks here on these phony immigration deals, we got to review all that too. I think there ought to be a moratorium on that for at least a decade, and maybe we send them home too. How about that? How's that work for you? Let's go to, I got Harnwell and Bensman to start the morning and kick off my favorite show of the week this Saturday. So, Ben Harnwell, give me it's because now I think 60,000 came across. And folks, remember, we had Michael Yan there years ago. I'm trying to get Yan. Yan's over in Asia. I'm trying to get Michael Yan, who was actually there years ago and reported this was going to happen. Yan told us at the time this is exactly what was going to happen. Ben, what in the hell did happen? I guess 40,000 have gone back to Morocco. Was this a setup? Was this orchestrated? And is this President Trump just put up on Truth Social kind of a little bit of the cold open we had yesterday and the same message that this is coming to an America near you? Your thoughts, sir?
Morning, Steve. Well, first thing to say is that a friend of mine, when I was talking to him yesterday about the invasion, corrected me and said, it's not really an invasion, is it, when they're being invited in? And that's certainly one legitimate perspective. But that said, yeah, I mean, the figures I've seen, which I question, but I question all of these figures, is that 48,000 illegal third world invaders have been deported from that Spanish enclave of Ceuta on the northern coast of Morocco in about a 24-hour period. And around the accepted figure at the moment is,
what do you mean?
50,000.
Hold it. For our American audience, what do you mean they were invited? Talk about that. This is not an invasion. Why were they invited? Why did they think they were invited in, sir?
Well, it's because of the Spanish Supreme Court's judgment that was circulated quite widely amongst the invaders, that the full protections of Spanish law and European law would be applied in Ceuta, which is just to repeat this, it's a sovereign Spanish, one of the 2 sovereign Spanish territories, enclaves. They're like 500 years they belong to Spain on the northern coast of Africa. So that it is Spanish territory, and therefore the writ of the European Union also applies. Now, there was some ambiguity over this, and the Supreme Court, the Spanish Supreme Court, clarified that a couple of weeks ago, saying if someone comes in, they have the same rights under Spanish law. And
in other words, if you get there, you can go to Switzerland, Sweden. You can go anywhere you want, right? You can just kind of wander around.
Well, that's
you wander around Europe and find a place that you want to settle in.
But what the law allows and what's actually taking place are 2 separate things. What is really not in discussion is that is absolutely what was in the minds of the 50,000 or 60,000 or so invaders who came into this Spanish enclave over the last 48 hours. But Steve, I just want to illustrate here the orgy of performatism that we've seen, especially amongst the right. There's something so illustrative about this, right? And it's this. So official statistics, 48,000 people have been returned to Morocco in effectively a 24-hour period. Let's contrast that with Italy, okay? Because to great fanfare, Giorgia Meloni spent 880 million taxpayer euros on setting up these processing centers in Albania. And in 5 years, how many people were processed through that? 111. So you have a government here that claims its hands are tied in its conditions of the Dublin Treaty and various European conventions, and it's not so easy to send people back. You can see that when the system. You asked me, Steve, what happened yesterday? What happened the day before in this FAUCI? I would say that the system was stress tested. This was a stress test of the system to see whether it was able to cope. And that within the democratic norms that we discussed yesterday, were they going to be able to resolve the situation? And they did. They did. When the political will was there, they removed 48,000 illegal third world invaders in a 24-hour period. So the question, therefore, is if they can do this, and of course all hell would have broken loose in mainland Spain if they hadn't been forcibly or volunteered, is the technical word we're using right now, returned to Morocco. If that hadn't happened, there would have been very disturbing scenes coming out of mainland Spain. So when this stress test hit the system, and we saw that these images, which imprinted on all of the minds and all of the attention span, not only in continental Europe, but right around the world, the government reacted, and the judges, the courts, did absolutely nothing, right? That is the takeaway of this. Where there is the political will, governments can respond, right? What takes place after that now?
But as soon as the socialist governments, when you give amnesty, there can be no amnesty for anyone. Can't be it in Western Europe, and it certainly can't be in the United States. That's why all 22 million illegal alien invaders on Biden's watch have to go home. All the happy talk and folks we know that say, oh, well, we really got to work. You don't have to work with any of this. They all got to go. The moment you give amnesty, they gave amnesty to 1.2 million invaders that are already in Spain, and next thing you know, you've got tens of thousands and millions in back of it coming to that Spanish holding in Morocco, ready to go across either on a ferry or swim across. And the interviews with people, they all said the same thing. There's no opportunity. Islam's so great. This is why Islam's so great. They all said there's no opportunity in any of these countries, none. All I'm looking for is to get across, and I'll work for slave wages. I'll work for the wages of a serf. I just want to get into Europe and get a job and, have the government pay for my housing, because that's everything that we read. All the interviews with these people were the same. They want to go over there and get a job, or say they want to get a job and then just leech off the social welfare system. But they were consistent. There's no opportunity in any of these countries. Why is there no opportunity in any of these countries? Well, first off, they're all monarchies or close to being monarchies or quasi-monarchies, and the state religion's Islam. It's a double whammy. I thought we got rid of all the monarchies back. I thought World War I took care of that problem for us. I thought part of the Napoleonic War, between Revolutionary France, the American Revolution, 1848, and then World War I thought we got rid of all the monarchies. Oh, yeah. We didn't get rid of them in the Middle East, right? And I think, there's all kind. Is Israel had any play here, Ben Harnwell? I got 60 seconds. Real quickly, why don't you stick around and go, Bensman? Is Israel in back of this, or partly in back of this?
I don't. I think that blimey, you put me on the spot on that one.
Of course, I put you on the spot. Okay, anyway, I'll let you think about it. Ben Harnwell.
I can't. I'm not. No. You can give me 20. You can give me 24 hours. I'm not answering that question. I'm pleading. I'm going to do a FAUCI. I'm pleading the fifth. I'm not answering it.
Our man in Rome. I thought the guys in Rome would have a straightforward answer to that. Ben Harnwell's going to stick with us. Todd Bensman is next. Want to thank Birch Gold, Philip Patrick. What a star turn last night. $40 billion hedge fund. Did I tell you something about a highly leveraged bet on artificial intelligence? I'll pick that up in a moment. Short break.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, let me have Todd Bensman's with us. Todd, is this self-organizing? There's all kind of these people plotted, those people plotted. Is this self-organizing? Or let me ask it a different way. How far from after all the years we've been hammering on the border and had you guys down the Darien Gap, President Trump comes in and seals the borders, got the military down there in 60 or 90 days, everything we've been through, and we still got, Bovino says 100 million illegal in the country, right? Throwing another, 20 million, quote unquote, legal. He says 100 million. He says 125, I think, is his overall number. We at least can focus on whether it's 8 or 22 under the Biden regime. How close is the United States? Because a lot of people, particularly a lot of Trump voters, are all sitting there, hey, this whole thing's done. It's solved. President Trump took care of it. President Trump is fighting every day, but as you got the courts, you've got the media, you've got the Democratic socialist, the Marxist jihadist, right? How far away from what we've seen in Spain could happen here back again in the United States of America, sir?
Blink of an eye. We are on a razor's edge of border security that you see down there, just completely flipping to what you saw in the Spanish enclave. And the reason I say that is because nothing's been done legislatively to fix the border. It's all done policy. Specifically, Trump on the first day put into place 212F of the INA, go Google that, which just said nobody gets to apply for asylum, period. That plus enforcement backing it, military and border patrol orders that you will catch everybody and return them. That's it. That's the membrane, those two things. And already an appellate court has ruled against Trump's use of 212F. It's just sort of in the middle of the mechanics of implementation. There'll probably be a appeal to the Supreme Court, and it'll take some time, but it could just be a court ruling away. When that appellate ruling came out about 212F, you saw a surge of immigration move toward the Mexico's northern border with us. People were very excited. They thought, "Oh wow, we're getting in." So they are stacked up chest deep down there, neck deep down there already, just waiting, and they're still pouring in, waiting for a Democrat to get elected in a couple of years. So that's how close we are. There needs to be legislation. They need to try legislation to just permanently fix the asylum law so that it can't be used ever again to bring people in, to let people in to stay.
Hang on.
So
close. Full stop. Hang on. Full stop. Let's play. I want to play Mark Elias again. I want to connect some dots here. Let's play Mark Elias again from the cold open.
This is not going to begin and end with the administration going after the IP address of one person. Right. This is just the latest in a series of tactics. I think you said when one door closes, they try to find another one. This is just the next door they're trying to find. If 2020 was the election that was dominated by Donald Trump trying to undermine vote by mail, and 2022 was the election that was dominated by Republican voter suppression laws that had been enacted in 2021 and 2022, and if the 2024 election was dominated by Donald Trump preparing to mess with certification and empower election deniers, the 2026 election is all about data, right? You mentioned that they are now 0-19 in efforts to try to get access to the most sensitive voter data that states have. I'm proud that my law firm remains undefeated, and tonight added Illinois to that list. But we've also had Donald Trump issue executive orders to try to get the Postal Service to leverage the delivery of vote by mail ballots in order to get data. That is running into its obstacles in the court. The Supreme Court is now have an emergency petition on its desk from the Department of Justice there. So this IP address
data, when you hear data, read illegal aliens and non-citizen foreigners voting. They've gone to the last stand they're taking is you can't get to the voter rolls. That's what data means. Voter rolls. This is why we're on a knife's edge, Todd. The Democratic business model is very simple. They can't win elections if only American citizens vote, and you have chain of custody and you get certified. If only American citizens vote, they cannot win anywhere. But if they got the illegal aliens can vote and you have 270,000 on just a couple of states, that's to me the big reveal. And it's bad enough the Chinese are manipulating the voter rolls because that's what they're doing. That's why they hacked it. They didn't buy it commercially. They hacked it. But it's the 278,000 on just a couple of states. You have millions. And when he says data, that's their thing. They can't allow. They're open about it. They want to put another phony term in it. This is why we're on a knife's edge. Is it not, Todd? Because the Marxist jihadist party in this country needs to have those migrants inside this country so they can continue to steal elections. Todd Bensman.
Well, the 278,000 was really surprising when he revealed that, and actually shocking. And just because remember, that's only in 4 states that they could get their hands on. The big pushback on that number, they have to undermine that number or it's just horrendous for the Democrats. So all efforts, all hands on deck have been to undermine that number, 278,000. And it follows a couple of lines, one of which is, well, there's no evidence that any of them voted or very many of them voted or just a few voted. So it's not a real thing. And there's some double counting, so it's really not 278,000. Some of them became naturalized, that sort of thing. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that it's 100,000. You could like lop off 178,000. That registered is still in 4 states is unbelievably egregious. So the onus, really, the argument ought to be, okay, we don't know how many voted, but we know tens of thousands registered. They are locked and loaded to vote. They could vote and you would never know it. And we all know how close elections get. At the precinct level, at the state level, and at the federal level, it could be a couple thousand votes. So it's very concerning, very worrisome, and a big problem that so many are registered to vote. I think the argument ought to be we've got to stop the registrations, which I think a lot of that's happening.
The 100% they're registered nonstop. They also people these asylum seekers, migrants, illegal alien invaders, all the same. They're not dumb people. They're very savvy about social media. They keep up with this better than the average American citizen of what's going on. They see that they have 500,000 amnesty in Spain, 1.2 million applied, and they understand, hey, those 700,000, they'll get another bite of the apple later. That's why they're pouring into Spain. That's why they're going to swim across if they have to, right? Or they just touch it. This is why you're on a knife's edge. This is why we're on a knife's edge in this country right now. They hear Mandami. They hear what's happening in L.A. They look at the court decisions. They know these court decisions better than we do, sir.
Yeah, there's 2 things going on with that, why we're on a knife's edge. First of all, you're right. Immigrants, people that are aspiring to illegally cross the border, listen to every single word. They can read between the lines like nobody can. So whatever masking kind of rhetoric is coming out of the putative Democratic primary candidates for president, they are listening to every single word. And also to Republican serf labor advocates, I call them, who are saying things like, well, let's just not deport the Haitians because the healthcare industry really, really needs them. They rely on them. That's amnesty. Everybody is listening to that around the world. Anytime you talk about amnesty, between the lines, masking language, whatever, they hear it, they understand it exactly, and they surge toward it. That is very dangerous talk. Republicans should not be talking. You can't be a little bit pregnant when it comes to deportation, mass deportation. We're going to carve out this group maybe carve out that group. You have to. It's all or nothing.
What's the status of the Haitians right now? They're gone according to the courts, giving us the opportunity 5 days ago. What's their status? Are they gone? Are they still eating dogs? And they're still eating dogs in Springfield, allegedly.
Well, they are. By the way, I've talked to a lot of Haitians about that, and I always ask this question, like, in your home country, can you buy dog meat? Is that a thing? And they're like, oh yeah, of course. They're like, yeah, cats, and they sell it in the. That's what I've been told. I haven't been to Haiti. Anyway, where that is they are deportable. They have been stripped of temporary protected status, all the court battles and everything.
Why are they not deported? Why are they not deported? Why are they not deported?
So my sources in ICE are telling me that plans are now being implemented to start deporting Haitians back to Haiti. There is a tremendous pressure from the right and the left, Republicans, but mostly Democrats, saying you can't send them back to Haiti. This is terrible. This is terrible. But I've been writing lately pointing out that those Haitians were here on fraudulent pretenses. They were living safely, firmly resettled in other countries for years and years before they ever came here. Got the invitation from Biden, the borders open. Yeah. They got a big upgrade by coming across. They never qualified for TPS or anything else.
Never.
And they lived in these other countries. Yeah.
Yeah. Hang over 1 second. I got Ben Harnwell in Rome. Todd Bensman's with us. Tony Lyons is going to come up. We're going to talk about MAGA. We're packed here on a Saturday now in August of 2026. Back in a moment.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Birch Gold. Financial stability. There's so much happening in AI, and particularly negative on the leverage bet. There was a hedge fund full of pension fund money that went from $40 billion to $10 billion because it turns out the guy was 400% leverage on these AI, but the whole thing was on AI. This guy was like called the Nostradamus of AI. Some young kid who wrote some paper a year or so ago, $40 billion, 400% leverage. These stocks, these AI, the chip stocks, they start having the softness in Korea, East Asia, then to the United States. Boom. This guy's lost $30 billion of pension fund money. There's some high net worth individuals, but a lot of just average citizens' money. What did I tell you about the highly leveraged bet? This country's got a highly leveraged bet. On top of that, we've layered a highly leveraged bet by these hedge funds and companies that we don't even understand how it all works together. It kind of looks like a circular. There's some really smart people coming out now saying this is really a Ponzi scheme. But it's dangerous. We now know the containment. There's a whole series of articles. There's been a lot more of these breakouts than have been disclosed. And we shouldn't have to be waiting for these companies to tell us that. This is not a commercial issue. This is a national security issue. A national security issue. Birch Gold. Take your phone and text Bannon, Bannon, 989898. Find out how to invest in gold and precious metals today in the age of Trump, but also go to birchgold.com/Bannon. You get the End of the Dollar Empire, the 9th free installments coming out. Immerse yourself in the previous 8, all free, and look for a still point in a turning world. How about that? Birchgold.com. I want to thank for being our Saturday sponsors. They have been for years. Bensman, was this self-organizing? If it was self-organizing, give me a minute. Why was it self-organizing in Morocco/Spain, sir? And how can that happen here in the United States of America?
I totally recognized what was going on down there. I've seen it 100 times. I've been on your show live down there. Immigrants are smart. People that cross the border, people that want to, are paying attention to every pronouncement coming out. So they got a Supreme Court ruling a couple weeks ago. It took a little while for it to percolate. And that combined with the fact that the PM Sanchez did a 500,000 amnesty. It was like the perfect double whammy, motivator. And they just came instinctively and impulsively and smartly. that they were not going to be pushed back. The Supreme Court ruling shut down the automatic expulsion policy at the water's edge that they had in that enclave. When that went away, they were like, they were just like, they moved. Now, the interesting thing that is also very illustrative about this is that Sanchez went full Trump when he had to. That 40 or 50,000 that he pushed back, that is pure Trump right there. When their power is threatened, they will go full Trump.
Yeah, when they're forced
and
to
do these expulsions anyway. I don't know what legal
the state has. Okay, it's about political will just here in the United States. You can get the Haitians on a plane today. Boom. It's why we play that scene from The Untouchables all the time. Everybody knows where the whiskey was made in the Depression with Al Capone. You just need the political will to beat down the door, kick down the door, get the whiskey, or kick down the door and send them all home. All of them, not some of them, all of them. I don't care if they work in healthcare. I don't care if they're helping the convenience stores. I don't care. Nobody cares. They got to go back to point of origin. You give any amnesty at all, and we're going to have another bum rush of tens of millions in the United States. Todd, hang on for 1 second. Ben Harnwell, I've given you enough time. Did you get a chance to run over to the Vatican and get the answer? Or I guess Prevost, on 4th of July, as an American, instead of celebrating the great American Revolution and everything it meant for mankind, he was down greeting migrants coming into Italy, right? Would he be, would the Prevost, would Cardinal Prevost, the current resident in the Vatican, would he be on our side on this, or would he be on the other side, the amnesty side, sir?
Well, yeah, he'd be on the amnesty side. He'd be candidate number 1 for deportation back to Peru, as far as I'm concerned. But look, I need to come back to something you said earlier because it just requires a slight correction. You mentioned the you and Todd, you were talking about the 1.2 million applicants for the amnesty in Spain. The initial estimate was that the government put out was 500,000. They had 1.2 million applicants. It's not a case that they're going to just take 500,000 of those and give them papers. If all of those applications are valid, that is to say they fulfill the criteria. That is to say that they can demonstrate they were in Spain before the 31st of last year.
Yes.
And they submitted their application between April and the end of June. If that's a valid application, they're going to get their papers. And then they can travel anywhere in Europe that they want to. 1.2 million invaders. So whilst you have this orgy of performatism by the European leaders, including your girl, right? I have to mention it again, Giorgia Meloni. You might have seen that they had this letter going around open letter amongst the 22 of the 27 heads of government over the last 12 hours, insisting that they have this emergency video meeting amongst Europe's interior ministers to urgently discuss the situation.
Urgently.
You know who organized that letter, don't you? You know, without me even having to.
Exactly.
It was our girl.
Our girl's the best. She's performing actress number 1. Nominated for best actress in a performer in a role. Ben, where do people go get you over the weekend? We got to bounce. Where do they get you?
Get to my social media platform of choice at Harnwell and the unmentionable platform X at Ben _
I'm going to want you to go over to the Vatican and get the answer from the Vatican. We'll have you on Monday to give the answer on all this. Ben Harnwell, thank you, sir. Bensman, you're now out. You're doing the great job you've done for years to alert the American people. Where do people go for all your content, sir?
Right, I'm on X at Todd Bensman. I've got the same thing at Getter and Truth. So you can follow me there. I'm at Heritage Foundation now, and they've got a page you can find all my writings there. And at toddbensman.com, you can find all my writings too.
And Todd, you're going to notify us as soon as your sources say, hey, the Haitians are going. You're going to notify us immediately when that happens, right? So we can have you back on because it'll be a celebratory day. We need that to happen, and I hope the folks are working as hard as possible. We got to do this. Every methodology possible to get the mass deportations rolling. So, Todd, thank you so much for taking your time on Saturday to join us.
Good to be here again.
Yesterday, that cabinet meeting was interesting. Let's play. We got a small clip, and I got Tony Lyons here. Let's play it.
By the time you leave office, assuming that's in 2028, 95% of the drugs that are available to Americans, they will be paying the lowest prices in the world. It's making pharmaceuticals affordable, the most affordable in this country of any country in the world. Well, thank you, Mr. President.
How are you doing on the autism research?
We will have an answer for you. We just got
That's so important. Okay, we'll be talking about that. We'll be having something of interest. Such an important thing. There's a picture of your uncle right there on the wall. He's looking handsome guy. And that's quite a picture. Did you see it?
Yeah.
So maybe that gave you the idea to start out, but it's quite a picture.
Okay, Tony, help me out. I'm totally confused on this one, brother. Politico, after President Trump comes to the Roosevelt Room, when the whole thing's announced about vaccines, all his research, he takes the lead from Bobby Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy's going to say, Trump is bang. I mean, he is hitting it, man. He's hammering it. And he's got these women coming up and talking about what happened to their children. And President Trump is clearly moved. I keep saying it's one of the most important and moving aspects of President Trump's first or second term. You can tell that he is into this. He's empathetic to people, and he's taking leadership and giving Bobby Kennedy air cover on taking on Big Pharma. Cut to the political guys around him do all this polling, and next thing you hear coming out, they say two things. You can't have you never talk about mass deportations, and you can never talk about vaccines. And oh, by the way, let's approve Roundup for a short interim period. All the MAGA people go crazy. Then Politico, I think, is reporting the other day in the Oval, President Trump's looking around and go, Bobby, how come we're not making any progress on autism or the vaccines? You promised all this. Where are you on this? And Bobby Kennedy's going, what are you talking about? Make this make sense to me. Well, just exactly where we are. The President of the United States, heart and mind, is with us. He's the titular head of MAGA. He wants this to happen. Make this make sense. What exactly is going? Have the political advisors that are all bought off by Big Pharma, are they just diverting attention to what the president wants to do and clearly Secretary Kennedy wants to do, sir?
Yeah, it's really complicated stuff. And the truth is, that for decades now, every network, every newspaper, every website has been corrupt, and they don't investigate things. They spin the news. They support corporate lies and government corruption, captured government agencies. So these are incredibly corrupt companies. These big pharma companies and these big food companies, they've controlled the country. So make no mistake, these are powerful organizations. These are criminal organizations, and they have so much power. But what you've seen is that Bobby Kennedy's willing to stand up to them. For 19 years, he stood up to them. And then, what he says is, God gave him President Trump, because President Trump isn't afraid of anyone. And he knows that a side effect of vaccines, that hundreds and thousands of parents come forward, 50% of the people who say their children developed autism right after vaccines, 50%. And then in the package insert for vaccines, it says that you can get brain damage, you can get brain inflammation. So President Trump knows this. Thousands and thousands of doctors and scientists know this, but they're censored and they're deplatformed when they say it. So this is a battle, and it's part of a much larger battle that, for me, really started when we published the real Anthony Fauci. Sorry.
The real Anthony Fauci was a landmark, and I think it showed the other day go back, tie this together. How does Fauci play into this? And particularly the real Anthony Fauci that went through his crimes over decades. Sir, I got about a minute. I'm going to hold you through the break. Give me a minute on Fauci.
Yeah. So Dr. Fauci was in charge of public health for almost 50 years, and he absolutely failed his way to the top. By every barometer, the health of our children, the health of everybody in this country got worse. He was in charge of allergies, and allergies in this country are a hockey stick. So in what world does somebody become more famous, more powerful, more wealthy when they fail at the thing that they've been hired to do? And that is the Dr. Fauci story, because he was working for these corrupt corporations, and working for them, he was succeeding, but he was failing the American public because his job in his mind wasn't to help American families and American children. So we became the sickest country of the 30 industrialized countries with Dr. Fauci running the show. And then Bobby Kennedy became this incredible villain. Even though he was right about the Hudson River, he was right about Monsanto and Roundup, he was right about mercury and vaccines, about free speech, about the border, about lockdowns, masks. He brought 500 lawsuits against these corrupt companies.
Hang on 1 second. We're going to take a commercial break. Tony Lyons and Maha on the other side.
America is brought to you by Pfizer. CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer.
Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer.
ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
This weather report brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer. On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.
They protected Fauci for decades, okay? They got blood all over their hands. Everybody knows it. So we had, there was bad polling shown to President Trump. Dr. Jeffrey Tucker Brownstone, on their own nickel, did this definitive poll. We had him out here. The mainstream media so totally suppressed it. They wouldn't show anything, which shows that the American people, the MAGA movement, is one of the most fastest growing urgent movements in this country, and they want change, and they want radical change. They're tired of the status quo. President Trump's a disruptor. His heart's with us. He's empathetic about this. His mind's with us. So, Tony Lyons, 90 days out, what in the hell's going on? Are we down with this program and going to do it and we're going to hit it? Or is Bobby Kennedy being chained up by the big pharma influence among the political operatives, sir?
It's a battle day after day, but clearly the president wants to get it done. And clearly the president knows, these are the actual stats. So 5 years ago, there were something like 2 million people out of 330 million people in this country who questioned vaccine safety. Now there's something like 150 million. So think about that for a second. There's not an issue in the United States of America where people's minds have changed more dramatically than vaccines. People know that these companies lie. People know that we had a government that was captured by these companies. People know that on August 13th, 2022, Dr. Fauci said we can't admit that the shots don't work because that'll undermine our policy to force people to get them. And this is at the same time where Bobby Kennedy is being vilified every single day, deplatformed on Instagram, on X, shadow banned, hit pieces every day. So we know these things. And we know that the polling is just another way that people lie to the American public. So the polling is obviously wrong. It's clearly wrong. And Americans are tired of being lied to, and they're tired of having their children poisoned by these people. And when Politico writes a story saying nothing is happening, look at that kind of change. The change from 3 million to 150 million. Millions of people are changing what they eat. They're looking at food labels. They know the truth now about meat and eggs and whole milk. They know that the food pyramid was upside down to protect ultra-processed food companies. So everybody in America recognizes that they've been lied to. And that in every single way, the narrative that they were fed was just to protect a certain group of companies and their profitability. And the people who we could trust, those people were told, we were told they were dangerous, but they were dangerous only to profits.
Yeah, dangerous only to the system as it is, the big pharma that's choking the American people. Food is medicine, as we say. Last thing, because I know you got to bounce. Anthony Fauci sat there, took the fifth, lied, and media freaked out. They provided more air cover for him now because they have to. They got liability. They got blood all over their hands. What is your recommendation to Bobby Kennedy and to the President of the United States of what must happen to Anthony Fauci, sir?
Anthony Fauci has to be prosecuted, and he has to be prosecuted because that's the only way that you can change the status quo, that everybody in America needs to see him on a perp walk, needs to see him held accountable for the crimes against humanity that he committed on behalf of these big pharmaceutical companies and at the expense of the health of 150 million people. So, this is something that needs to happen. And his pardon should not be allowed to stand. It's a fake pardon. And even if it were real, there has to be a way to prosecute him because he presided over the sickening of everybody in this country virtually. And he did it on purpose and he knew what he was doing. And there has to be accountability now.
There's no doubt. Tony, Lyons, where do people... You've got a publishing company that we put out books all the time on this. You're the biggest supporter. You run MAGA Inc. Where do people go to get all this information? We need to immerse more people in the information here to join our crusade to rid the nation of these villains that have poisoned the American people over decade after decade after decade, sir.
Yeah, so the people who want to control what you do, what you think, how you practice your faith, what you put into your body, and what you read, they don't want you to go to skyhorsepublishing.com and read these dangerous, provocative books. And they don't want you to go to mahaaction.org because you're going to learn so much about what's really happening in the MAGA revolution, because this is a health revolution that's going to upend these companies and start to protect public health.
Okay, so MAGA Inc. is where MAGA Action is where we go right now. MAGA Action, is that a good landing page?
Yeah, mahaaction.org.
Tony, what is Skyhorse? You got social media on Skyhorse?
Yeah, skyhorsepublishing.com.
And of course, we got a couple of big books from Dr. Bradley Thayer coming out in mid-August, and then Ben Berquam back to back. These are one taking on communism, the other about Ben's journey at the border and everything about mass deportation, immigration. These books are going to be blockbusters. I want to thank Tony as our publishing partner. Tony Lyons, thank you very much on a Saturday. We'll get on it.
Thanks, Steve.
My Patriot Supply. In working with our sponsors and our partners, what we try to do is work with them is craft things that are special for the War Room Posse. They have set up our own landing page, preparewithbannon.com. It's kind of catchy, right? Preparewithbannon.com. Remember, the preparation industry used to be considered a bunch of wingnuts with tinfoil hats. Now it's looked at as common sense. Looking around the corner. Preparewithbannon.com. They got a special on the 6-month emergency food supply. They've never done this before. $250 off. In commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the birth of the greatest, most powerful nation on earth. What is the MAGA movement? To return America to her former glory and perpetuate this project we call the American Republic down through the ages, generation to generation. Short commercial break. Back for the second hour in a moment.